nothing at all. Half love never appealed to me. If your heart never could.
Hello patrons, welcome to another video. This one is going to be for jazz pianists who maybe have a solo gig and you want to be able to do different things on the piano. So what I want to talk about today is how I started playing standards and covering all the different parts. So let's dive right in. We're going to play Girl from Ipanema. I think that's a good one to start with as a bossa nova. What I like to think about for jazz piano, for solo jazz piano, is that you break it down into 3 different parts. And I know I mentioned this in another video, but I like to break it down into 3 different parts. The bass line, the comping, and then the melody. And really what I like to do is I like to keep all those in that order. So the bass line down here, the voicings in the middle, and the melody up top. So by doing that, you're creating 3 different parts that you can focus on. So let's talk about what I started doing when I started playing jazz piano and approaching it this way. The first thing I found out was that my independence was not good. So this is a great way to hone your independence. So what I started doing first is I would play the bass line. And I would practice that, making sure that I knew stylistically what to do. Now, maybe in another video we can talk about that, but that's another discussion. But for a bossa nova, Girl from Ipanema, the bass line would go like that. So once I knew I could do that, then I started adding the melody. So that's the order that I think you should approach it, is bass line, melody. Okay, so and this is the one that actually took a bit of time at first, because with this melody, it's syncopated. There's a lot of syncopation in the melody and the bass line. So practice that way. Practice with the bass line and with the melody together. So here is an example of that. 3, 4. So you want to get to a point where you can play both of those, keeping the bass line going and with the melody playing it as it is syncopated. So if you need to break it down into two bars, I would do that. Maybe the first 2 bars. And then if that's not happening, slow it down even slower, you know. Until you can reach a tempo that is comfortable. Okay, and then the next step is that you add the voicings. Now notice, as I said before, the bass line's down here, you have your melody. So the voicings are actually going to be down in the middle, and what ends up happening is you end up using this finger, the 5th finger, for the melody. And if you can keep that kind of pattern going throughout the whole time, that works. So you're using these 4 fingers for your voicings. So that's when you really need to sit down and instead of playing in rhythm, maybe just explore what sound is best. So the first chord in Ipanema is F major 7. So maybe I would choose these. Notice this is your 7th, 5th, 3rd, and I added a 9th, even though the 9th is up here. So maybe I use this voicing. So that's the voicing you're going to use. So now it's just a matter of putting all those 3 parts together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the first 2 bars. So all that together is some work. It took me a while to find the independence and to be able to go from chord to chord, because you know the next chord is a G7. Let's play a little bit more here. So here I need to decide what chord. Now for dominant 7ths, I'm always a fan of using the 6th note. So for G7, that would be an E. So there's an E there, and you always, for dominant 7ths, again, you want to use a 3rd and 7th, or 7th and 3rd. So there's your 3rd. Remember G7, and then your 7th. I chose down here because your melody's here. You don't want to choose this one; it's too close. You would have this cluster. So basically, you have this. So your voicing is this, using these fingers, as I'm saying, these 4 fingers to voice. And that's really the key, is keep the melody up top with your 5th finger, and the voicing you choose with these 4 fingers, whilst the bass line is happening. So let's put that all together. So again, this is the G7 voicing. So it's a G7 or a G13, however you want to think about it. 2, 3, 4. So one more time, I'll slow it down. 2, 3, 4. So that's the idea. Now, notice the bass line, one stylistic trait of bossa nova bass lines, the bass player is a lot of times playing the root, and then the next note is the 5th. The root and the 5th of that chord. So that's a good place to start, you know. So yeah, so it's just a matter of practicing it that way, thinking about it in 3 different parts: bass, voicing, and melody. And then later, you know, if you want to start diving into different styles of music, that's when you should study the styles of music and then what the bass player is actually doing. So like if you're playing like maybe a Latin thing, like a salsa thing maybe, this is what like a G minor 7, C7, sharp 11 sounds like if you start kind of using this idea of bass line, comping, melody, you know, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and also, you know, if you start diving into different styles of music, like swing, it's the same kind of thing. Notice if your melody is really, really difficult, then maybe you can't do this technique, you know, because you're using one note for the melody. This is really for melodies that are a little easier to play. And the other thing you can do is just play the melody with the bass line and then just comp in the spaces. That's the other technique. So not necessarily that your finger is playing the melody, but that you're playing the melody and then comping in the spaces. So yeah, I think this is one of those things that I think a lot of jazz pianists want to learn, is how to kind of fill up all the voices, you know, the bass and the voicings and the melody. So this is one technique that I've used. Let me know what you think, and let me know your questions. And thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next video. See you guys. Bye.